Torx bit on the rotor that you're going to need to take off. And then the 13 and 14 is for the caliper. And then if you, I use it also to take off the hanger for the brake line and the ABS cable. And then 15 millimeter is on the actual bearing itself. 18 millimeter, I believe that was on the hanger for the caliper. Then a 19 was for the strut. I might be backwards on that. 21. Heck, I don't remember. But these are the tools you're going to need. These are the tools you're going to need right here. This is not supposed to be like that. Okay, I'm changing the wheel bearings on this 2007 Equinox, and I ran into a bit of a problem even getting this off. This is a vehicle that was transplanted from Minnesota, so it's got a lot of rust, and it has corroded. It had these corroded together. The aluminum and the metal still together. They were pretty stuck. These are the tools that I used to get it off. Not the drill. But I used these tools to get the wheel bearing off. I'm changing it. What did I do? Oh, it's over there in the box. But I kind of beat it up quite a bit getting it off. But now I got to clean this up. Got to clean all that up before I put the new one in. And I'm going to make sure I put some anti-seize on there also before I put it back together. There we go. Got it all nice and cleaned up. And I just test fit it. And that new bearing fits in there real nice. It goes in all the way with a decent amount of ease. There we go. So now I put it back together. And what holds it in are these three, I believe they're 15 millimeter from the inside. They hold on from back here. There's three of them. And they go, I don't know what the torque spec is. I'm gonna go until it feels comfortable and just put it all back together. Yep. So I put anti-seize around the inside of that. I used the copper anti-seize. And I put a little coat of that around the inside there. And then on the bolts, I'm gonna use the red Loctite because that's what they used. And put this thing back together and see if it stops roaring when you drive. Sounds like it when you drive it. It sounds like it's got mutter tires on it. So this is the reason that I'm doing this. And with the Loctite, I don't go crazy. I just put a little bead on it like that. Then you screw it in, and as you screw it in, it spreads around. That's pretty much all you need in all reality. Okay, going back together, and this Torx bit here is a T30. It's a T30 Torx, and then on the struts, it is, what is that? 21 millimeter here, and these, they drive in. So I actually just put that in and hit it with a hammer, knocked it all the way through. And it has like little ribs on it to hold it in place, so when you tighten it, it doesn't spin. And so you can go ahead, you can tighten the 21 millimeter down right there with your torque wrench, ratchet, whatever you decide. I just put them on tight to where it holds good. And on that wheel bearing, those three on the inside there, they're 15 millimeter. And now we're getting ready to put, I got the caliper on, And now I got this that actually holds the brake pads and the caliper. And there are 2 bolts. And I'm going to Loctite them. Let's see what size it is. It must be this one. 18 millimeter. These 2 that hold this on are 18 millimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on. I already got the 36 millimeter that goes in the center. That's already tight. Tighten that up. And then I'll get the pads on, put the caliper back on, and button this side all up, put the wheel back on, go do the other side. I'm trying some new stuff that I never tried before. It's called Brake Quiet. This Brake Quiet. Never used this before. Stops brake squeaks and squeals. Well, I'm gonna give it a shot and see if it keeps them quiet. And I just put it, I'm using the same brake pads because they're not that bad. They still got plenty of time left on them. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on there, and we're gonna take this baby for a little spin. The hammer, I use the hammer for the bolts on the strut because I didn't show you, and it's all put back together now. It's all been put back together. But the hammer, there's 2 bolts on the bottom of the strut that hook to the spindle. You put the nut, you get the nut loose to where it's just about flush with the head of it, and you can hit it and you can knock it back out so that you don't damage the threads and you don't damage the nut. If you have it sticking out too far, you'll mushroom the head of that nut, and if you don't use it at all, you'll mushroom the head of the bolt. And so with the 2 together, you'll be able to do it without damaging anything, and you just set that bolt right to the edge of the nut. So when you hit it, everything gets hit pretty consistently, pretty evenly. So then when you go to tighten it up, you don't have a problem. When you go to take it off, it comes off without a problem. But if you just barely get like 1 or 2 threads, you're gonna rip the threads when you hit it with the hammer, causing you problems. So just set it flush and you'll be good. And then hit it with the hammer and you can knock it out. Okay, I use this Brake Quiet stuff here. I bought this stuff and I used it, and I noticed that the top doesn't reseal. So it's basically, if you buy it, you use it one time. If you don't put some plastic or something underneath this cap, or what I used is the seal that came off of it, and I left the seal in there. I put it back in after I finished using it so that so it doesn't dry out. But if you don't do something like that, either you put that cap back in there or put a piece of plastic over the top of it, you'll have 1 use out of this whole bottle. So I don't know if that's a deal for their marketing to make you have to buy more real quick or what, but that's something I observed from this Brake Quiet stuff, is if you don't seal, if you don't put something in this top, it will dry out and you'll have just you'll have 4 ounces of rubber chunk if you don't do that, depending on how much you do it, how much you use it. If you use it a lot, you might be able to go through it real quick. But if you use it maybe once a week or once every 6 months or whatever, it will dry out. So just a little note to anybody that wants to use it.